Hello and welcome to the Mystical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Katie Soul, and I am beyond delighted to welcome you back with season 2. And we have a beautiful guest, Philip Attar, kicking us off. Welcome, Philip.
Thank you, Katie. It's so exciting to be here with you and be invited into this and see you after all this time. So I'm super excited about today's conversation, where it will take us.
I am too. I know our conversations always lead in the most magical directions.
That's an understatement, yes.
For sure. Philip is a total gem of a human being. You are just bring so much light and joy into the world. And I know your story didn't always start in the easiest circumstances. So tell us a little bit before we drop in, just who are you really?
Who am I really?
Yeah.
Well, my name's Philip Attar. My wife and I are the founders of the now launched Academy of Living Intelligence. We're devoted to the expansion of consciousness, the study of it from a science and psychological behavioral sciences perspective. We have a method, a living immersion method, that is a deep somatic surrender. So we're somatic practitioners, essentially with our own method to help people dive into neurogenesis states for DNA and transformational healing. Aside from that, you'll see this later, but I posted today about if I had to sum it up, I'm essentially a male healer that has had to resolve a lot of masculine wounds. So let me sum it up that way.
I think we'll dive into that a little more. But first, Philip is going to lead us in a practice. We start every podcast with a practice to drop us out of the minds where that human self resides, with the fears and the worries and the to-do lists, and into the heart where our divine self resides, connected to our deepest levels of intuition. And I'm so excited to see what Philip has in store for us today.
Beautiful. I'm happy to. So, and it's a beautiful practice, as you know. It's before we begin, we have to be immersed in life, right? We have to be in union with what is what I say. And as abstract as that can sound, before I guide us all into just a moment, this moment, we first have to recognize that we are not tapping into this moment outside of us. What we're doing and what will guide everyone into now is a surrender into what exists, which is all of you, all of existence. So that's kind of the primer to it all. So let's begin by, I'll invite everyone even with eyes open today. It's kind of a practice that I do, as you know. Eyes open, and I'm here with you. I'm here with everyone. Let's surrender your body, surrender your breath. Now, when I say that, let's take a deep breath in and out through the nose. Circular breath, an inhale, an easy exhale that is continuous. So a continuous inhale and exhale in and out through the nose. And if anyone is sitting down listening to this or on their couch, just plant your feet firmly on the ground, or if your legs are crossed, just feel the weight of your body sink deeper into the earth. Or if anyone perhaps is laying down, just feel the weight of your entire body sink deeper into your sofa, your bed, the floor. And I'm here with you on the ground. And let the dust settle as we continue. And as Katie and I continues this beautiful conversation, we're here to embody truth so that truth can come out. So surrender your body, surrender your breath. Long, slow, deep breath. Release the tension in your toes, your ankles, your knees, your calves, your hips, your waist. We hold our waist in all day. Release the tension in your heart, your lungs, your liver, your organs, your blood vessels. Just feel the weight of your entire existence ground into the earth. And as everyone here, as we continue that long, slow, deep breath, recognize that whatever is arising in this moment, any texture, any emotion, any trigger, any feeling, anything that you perceive negative or positive, light or shadow, merely allow it to exist. Immerse yourself, surrender your body and breath, and surrender into what truly exists in this moment. This is the meditation. Surrender your body. Long, slow, deep breath. In this practice, we're not here to really tap into more light or force ourselves to go into a shadow. We're merely here surrendering our body, our breath, our molecules, our blood vessels. Surrender your body, surrender your breath, in order to truly embody the truth of the moment, within the moment, as you are, allowing life's intelligence to flow freely through you as a vessel. Surrender your body, surrender your breath. And when we speak, when we create from this moment of inspiration, taking in breath, what arises is what is true, outside of any conditioning from childhood, from the collective, that may be inhibiting your true power as a creator to live. Surrender your body, surrender your breath. Deep breath in through the nose. You can even exhale now out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth, bringing in more oxygen and aliveness to this moment. And now we can begin.
Philip, that was so beautiful. And what's amazing is how quickly we can shift into the heart center. It only took us a couple minutes. And I know everyone listening and you and me experiencing this moment right now feel a different energy in our bodies just from taking that pause into the heart. Thank you so much for guiding us into your beautiful practice.
It was perfect. Thank you so much.
What it brought up for me was around truth. And you and I both know that life really becomes pretty miraculous when you're living in your fullest authenticity. But I'd like to start with a time when you weren't living in your fullest authenticity. And I know we share many similar threads, from divorce to chronic illness to even the fashion industry.
Oh, right. Oh, gosh.
And while you and I are both far from those versions of ourself today, they're still a part of us. And I'd love for you to talk about the difference between when you were out of integrity and alignment to what it looks like today, living a life in your fullest truth.
Big question, big statement. If I'm going to be completely transparent and honest, reviewing the last time in those old days, for example, in fashion, I worked in fashion for like 18, 20 years, from Toronto to New York City as a creative director, design director, advertising, etc. Even until now, some of the most disruptive moments I've had were even like 3 days ago. Like recognizing that these patterns still live inside of you. And you have to alchemize them. I mean, since we've last talked, I'm married now. So it's like, I found my love, Amanda Lee. We're partners in our Academy of Living Intelligence. I don't even know the words, frankly. She's a divine oracle. Someone asked me the other day on social media, like, who my greatest spiritual teacher is. And out of anyone out there that's existed throughout time, and I sincerely said, my wife, Amanda Lee. She sees clearer than anyone I know. We
got to get Amanda on the podcast too.
You actually, we do. We timed this too quickly, but yeah, she needs to be on here. What I'm trying to say is some of the greatest demons that have surfaced in my life, or even recently in marriage, where I have to face the challenging trauma of wounded masculine, growing up with a schizophrenic father, parents divorced when I was 6, grew up with a powerful mother, but in masculine energy and overdrive, trying to make sure we weren't on welfare like my father, barely, like we grew up in cooperative housing. Powerful. I love my mother. And even after my wounds with my father, I now take care of them both. I pay for their senior homes. I've resolved and the challenges. But even several days ago, last week, I had a huge trauma reaction to some inner violence in my body that
Mm.
I'm going to be totally transparent that I was even expressing out to Amanda Lee. And it
Mm.
was, I'll be honest, it was disgusting.
Oh.
Like, even as I feel in my body now, I'm like already like, it was disgusting to see
Mm.
myself like that again.
Yeah.
And even after all the inner work I've committed to, even after the persona I have, even after the business and purpose that I am 100, as you know, us both, where we are not stepping into, we are in it. We're in it. We're here. There's no doubt in my mind I am on purpose, living it, embodying it, teaching it in truth. But in truth, we have to be honest in the moment.
We do.
We have to be honest with where we are. And that takes a kinesthetic felt sense honesty, not cognitive. The practice I guided us into today, if anyone understands, can feel the nuance. I intentionally did not want to guide us into peace and light. It was guiding us into what is, like what exists.
Mm.
Is there inner violence in this moment existing in you? Like me, for example, some anger? Is there an inner complacency or paralysis? Is there a fawn or a fight or a flight? Is there a trigger reaction? Is there bliss? Is there natural gratitude? Like, can we be so kinesthetically hyper present that we are really embodying fully the fullness of what is?
Mm.
And yes, I could tell you of all the tumultuous times when I worked in fashion and before when my story, as you know, spoken about this many times, of my Graves' disease in 2010 to 2013 and healing that by diving into this modality that I now teach. Like I was kind of invited into it. It was a divine intervention, to be honest with you. It was guided. And I can tell you all the tumultuous times in my previous marriage 12 years ago, going through Graves' disease, eyes bulging, thyroid disease, uh, $17,000 in medication and pills and all this other stuff that I had to like avoid and dive into natural therapies and all the violence in my life growing up as a schizophrenic father. But I'll be honest with you, the most challenging time I had was 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of life.
It's the real deal.
When
It's
it comes back again, and it will, and it does.
It does.
It
It does.
does. You know it. It like,
Oh,
even when we're like, oh, I've done all my shadow work. Honestly, fuck that. No. Like, it's like,
gosh, you're gonna make me forget a story that I did
tell
not.
me. This is
Oh,
it. This is the real
oh,
stuff. I love it.
I'm so glad you went there because this is the real stuff. So I'll share a story with you that mine hasn't been 3 days. It's been about a 3-week journey
Mm,
back into the underworld of some wounds around abandonment.
mm,
And the story started in July, hanging out on Necker Island with Richard Branson and the most amazing human beings. And it's expansive, and it was a beautiful dream come true that I wasn't even dreaming. While I was there, I started having really profound visions and remembrances from different incarnations. And they were always with this man. And he kept coming into my field over and over and over again. Different faces, different times, different places. But he always had an Australian accent. And so in August, I was talking with my girlfriends at dinner one night up in Maine, and I said to them, we were going through and sharing our intentions for the back half of the year. And I said, well, this man has been visiting me, and I'd like to meet him in the physical. So I'm sitting next to a girlfriend, and she says, Katie, don't you know that my husband's Australian? Maybe he knows him. And we laugh about it, and we go on. A few weeks later, she sends me a text message and she said, I think I do know him. And I drop in, I connect with his energy, and I say, yeah, that's him. A few various circumstances occur over the next couple months, and we just don't connect until December. And we meet at a party, and it's just like one of those connections, that you've you know this person, you know their soul. And it's a beautiful evening. And then we go on with life. And I just don't really hear from him.
Mm,
And that was about 3 weeks ago. And it brought up so much truth for me where I've had a pattern in my life of being abandoned by men. And I got to really go back
mm,
deeply under the covers on this pattern, and while it was excruciatingly painful, it was so necessary. I'm coming out on the other side, but I went through all the different stages of powerlessness. I went through anger, I went through rationalizing, I went through care and concern to a win-win and back into alignment, and now I have a lot of peace around what this connection gifted to me.
mm,
But oh my gosh, 3 weeks of like, what a journey. And that's the truth because we still, even when we have all the tools, we know the practices to lean on, we still have these opportunities to go deep into the darkness and come out again on the other side. So I'm curious, Philip, how did you come through that experience from just 3 days ago? Let it out.
um, Number one, I honor you for that. Being able on our, there's so many things to say. Shit, we need like 10,000 hours.
Right?
On our journey in life, we're always looking at it like we need to heal and overcome. And frankly, that's also, as coaches, as healers, as practitioners, that's how we market it. And that's
Yeah.
necessary because we need to understand that, yes, you can overcome this. You can overcome the fear. You can overcome the pain. You can overcome the trigger. You can overcome the perception of yourself and this abandonment wound, Katie, with men. And you can see it, yes. But the actual key, which is harder to explain, but the actual key is, can you see and sense the sensation of what is arising clearly
Yeah.
and allow its intelligence to alchemize in your body, period.
Exactly.
Like, that's it.
That's it.
I use the K word all the time. It's kinesthetic. This is not cognitive. I'm not just feeling the feelings and looking at it. I'm literally like, in my body, surrender my body,
Yeah.
surrender my molecules. What I'm doing is essentially like, is surrendering, like my hands in a fist right now for anyone listening to just audio. And you open, it's like your cells have so much tension when a trigger is coming up, or frankly, just in life, the stress of dis-ease. So the cells are literally moving and bouncing around, quantumly entangled. There's some like friction. Awesome. Beautiful. And what we do when we just did that practice together in the beginning is the cell opens up. And what happens is the life force now is not strangled by our cognition. The life force inside of us that we're made of, that is us, is not strangled by our conditioned mind, our will, human will. And if we can allow, and for example, for you, the abandonment wound, the trigger of some man being there, not being there, leaving you, etc., that wound, the texture of it to arise, and we can surrender within it,
Mm.
that is the key to resolving any inner conflict, external conflict, internal violence, external violence, inner stress and anxiety, external expression of stress and anxiety. Surrender your body, surrender your breath, release the friction in your muscles, in your body, in your cells, and allow God. This is the how to let go, let God, what we perceive as God. Let go physically, allow the intelligence to arise, then your triggered reaction will either be reduced, resolved, or expressed in a new way.
Totally.
And even if that means we need to allow, and one of the biggest wounds in this society from a feminine perspective for many of my clients, for I know you've expressed, is just the society suppresses the feminine expression to just express emotions, and like,
Yeah.
oh, don't feel that, don't express that, don't. And then men, frankly, like me, are wounded by our childhood, and then we're like, I can't stop that, and then we try and control you. We try and fix you. We don't allow you to express. We're like, just stop that. Just be rational, like a man. It's like, and then what happens? That causes more conflict. And then the man abandons you
Even
because
further.
he can't deal with you because he's
Again.
wounded. And the woman is wounded because now the man could not hold stable, strong, foundational structure for you, stability. And then
Yeah.
boom, repel, trauma. What's my point here? How did
Mm.
I work through it?
Yeah.
Surrender. And I wasn't perfect. It was a shit show. Frankly, I wish like Amanda Lee in her power couldn't even hold space for me, nor is it her job to. In the
Because
masculine, the hard part is, and this is going to be hard for the men listening to this, and I think the women will understand if their men don't do this. The hard part is through any chaos with my wife in her own inner emotion that she is working through, perhaps some trauma conditioning, or frankly, maybe it's not trauma, it's just an emotional expression that needs to creatively express.
yeah.
The man needs to hold grounded space to allow the feminine expression to fully express, period, without being triggered, without reacting. Or even if we're triggered, don't react. It's our reaction that creates more chaos and a lack of safety in your feminine. And then you feel abandoned because, frankly, we're literally just not sitting there allowing you to be you.
Yeah.
That, like, how did I work through it? Frankly, I didn't. Like, like it was like I had to even as quickly as possible surrender my body. So in the male figure here, I had to see myself through the suffering of Amanda Lee. I had to
Mhm.
see her suffering because I wasn't holding grounded space. I was reacting because of my trigger with my schizophrenic father, and I wasn't allowing her feminine to just express. I
Mhm.
was wounded by what she was expressing. I was taking it personally. I saw it as like 50,000 daggers. Meanwhile, to her, there's no daggers. She's just expressing an emotion.
Totally.
Surrender your body, surrender your breath. That's all we can do. And the hard part as a woman is even if you do that, and in this situation, if you're with a man that can't do what I did,
Right.
what I'm devoted to healing, what I'm devoted to holding space for with my love, because I love her, because I see her, the hard part is as a woman, then you have to hold that masculine energy safety for yourself. And boom, now we have women that are hardened
Mm-hmm.
and losing their softness. So, and now you have to hold space for yourself. And now women in general have to hold space for themselves. They have
Yeah.
to hold their own provision, hold their own safety, hold their own everything. And then now there's a lot of imbalance because of the wounded masculine and the wounded feminine because of the wounded masculine. It's a cycle.
It is a cycle.
Mm.
I knew this was going to take us somewhere fascinating today. Not the place I thought we would be going.
It's not the place I thought we'd be going to, but frankly, I think it's better. It's just more true.
So we have this dynamic with the wounded feminine and the wounded masculine. And when the feminine can surrender into her emotion and the masculine can hold this grounded space, it's beautiful.
Mm.
How do we get the world there?
Well, that's our mission. Like,
Got it.
for anyone here that's on that conscious journey, I know you and I kind of speak to the same people, right? We speak to a lot of conscious leaders or people wishing to really embody that in their life, like being like, I'm so ready to leave that old career, like us did
Totally.
in fashion or advertising design. But yet that's still part of our purpose. I know you still design these beautiful caftans and these colors. And I was looking at where the exactly, gorgeousness. It's awesome. And I still love making things. And Amanda Lee made me a shirt in Austin of like she dyed one of my white shirts out of the rusted shovels in the backyard,
Oh,
and
so cool.
I was just like fucking cool. It's like and I wear it with love. I just, we're still creators, yes. So as we're transitioning, if for anyone that resonates with this, transitioning from an old career into a new one to really embody a clearer purpose that is untainted by the ripple of trauma, how do we do this?
Mm.
It's literally what we're saying. We have all of that trauma conditioning from the collective. I call it more collective trauma conditioning because sometimes you don't even think you went through trauma as a child. It doesn't have to be like I went through physical and emotional and verbal abuse as a child. And some people don't. They're like, well, Phil, I didn't go through trauma. I'm like, well, you may not have thought you did, but society that created these imbalanced structures, a lack of connection to nature, lack of connection to life force intelligence, God, lack of connection to safety and provision and healthy masculine feminine polarity. Well, that creates imbalance in the entire structure around you, your school, the medical system, your uncle, your teacher. Like it's impacting you.
Yeah, the boxes and the buildings that you go into on a daily basis inherently hold a degree of trauma.
Down to the plazas in some neighborhoods I go to, I'm like, this is the society we create. Some shopping plaza. This is, we cover the earth in concrete. Like, covering the earth in concrete is trauma. Like, hello, I'm so disconnected from earth. Let me fake how a rock looks and just cover the dirt because I can't stand it. Like, wow. Bottom line is this: that conditioning, collective trauma conditioning, lives in our cells and DNA as quantum friction. It's a pattern. And I'm simplifying it. If we can understand that it lives as quantum friction, then your question, to answer your question clearly, how do we heal that? The masculine feminine dynamic, it is a reductive process. It's not additive. We don't have to do more things. We
Yeah.
have to release the ripple of friction in the body to allow it to express itself out exactly the way I needed to allow the feminine, my love, allow her to express her emotion out. Then she'll resolve it on her own. If I just allow Amanda Lee to express, which has been honestly the fucking hardest, painful thing I've needed to do, because growing up with a schizophrenic father, no model to do that. Think about that. I'm 47 years old. You think it's easy for me because I'm a spiritual teacher? No, it's damn hard. That's the point. That's where I get the codes because I'm like in it. Allowing the feminine to express. In other words, allowing the suppressed energy in you as a man or woman to freely express, surrendering the body kinesthetically, don't do anything with the mind, and allowing it to express, now will resolve it in time and generations. It will resolve on its own. But if we force, if we coerce, if we use the mind, to optimize more body, to try and coerce and manipulate our thoughts and force gratitude and force positivity and force all the things we want, instead of allowing the trauma tension to freely express through the body, well, then we'll repeat the patterns in a masculine feminine balance for literally thousands of years, which is what's happened. So bottom line is reductively release the ripple of friction in the body, in the energy field, allow life force intelligence to then take over. That is, in my opinion, actually not even opinion, in truth, that is the only way to truly resolve the ripple. Allow God, life force, to recode the conditioning.
And without that experience, we wouldn't be able to recode. No. We wouldn't be able to have these new codes.
It's part of it, which is crazy. It's like, it is the algorithm.
Like, oh my gosh, that was such a fucking gift. And so torturesome at the same time.
Yeah.
So that experience, you couldn't have the glow up and the codes and the lessons to accelerate you. I mean, for me, 3 weeks later, I'm a different version of who I was through that experience.
Yeah.
And I'm so darn grateful to have had that experience. But 2 weeks ago, if you had asked me that, I would not have answered in that way.
No.
No.
I mean, living through the tension, trauma reaction, trigger in our own minds, living with that inner violence or inner tension, even in blindness, is part of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that, the blindness is part of it. And you can train yourself, and this is what I do, and Amanda Lee and I teach, and what we really work to embody, is even and when the trigger or trauma reaction arises, whether I can control it or not, the more I surrender my body, the more I can see it, where I'm conscious of it. I'm conscious of the dragon fire coming out of my mouth. Yeah. When I can then begin to surrender my body and be conscious of the dragon fire, I can now see, oh shit, fire's coming out of Phil's mouth.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Surrender your body, surrender your breath. Oh shit, that's the trauma reaction of my father. Oh, release the surrender, allow God to pass through me, allow myself to embody what is. Boom. Regulated nervous system, calm down quickly,
Mm.
apologize, see myself quickly, hold space for Amanda Lee, hug her, don't analyze her, don't
No,
talk at her,
no.
hold her with
Mm.
compassion and
Mm.
feel it, work through my own dissociation. You know, like all of it. It's like all of it comes up. It's like in my worst moments, even after a trigger, I'm dissociated. And then Amanda Lee gets more triggered because she's like, you don't feel, I don't feel you. And I'm like, and my inner child is like screaming in a corner because my dad's freaking out.
Yeah.
So just surrender your body, surrender your breath.
Mm.
Surrender not into the moment, surrender within it. And I mean that, like, take that literally.
Yeah.
You're an energy field within an energy field. There's no separation. Allow it to pass through and express. It will dissolve and quiet on its own if you surrender the friction of your will. That is the how. For any man, any woman, any spectrum in between, that is the how to express and allow ourselves to heal.
Okay. I just want to take a moment and celebrate you for doing the surrender when it isn't easy. And I just am really seeing and honoring you in this moment and grateful for you, Philip.
Thank you. Like, it's to be human, to heal, to overcome, to share new codes, to express yourself freely, to overcome the condition, embody our power for 2.5 weeks, and then on the third week have shit hit the fan again, and we're like, what the and then go on social media, be like, I'm just such an awoke healer.
I think when we can share the like crazy shit that's going on and that we're working through, that's how we connect with our audience, like through this podcast. The more authentic we are, the more we resonate because there is nobody that has it all figured out. Nobody who has this whole puzzle solved. Yes, you and I have made some huge leaps and raised our consciousness, and
It's infinite. It doesn't stop.
doesn't stop. Okay, I want to talk for a minute about a topic that you and I both are pretty aligned about, and that is around forced manifestation. So, I was sharing with my audience earlier this week about how creating a vision board is actually holding you back from the life that you really dream of because
That's a good one.
it
That's
is.
a good one.
Okay, so tell me, what are your thoughts on this like buzzy word manifestation? Because I think manifestation's actually really super easy. It's the coming into alignment with our truth. That's where the work is.
Manifestation. I feel like number one, it's a brilliant topic. You're so on point with the vision boarding, and we'll even talk about it quantumly and scientifically, like and through behavioral science, why that is, and where to begin. Manifestation. For anyone that follows me on social media, you'll know I hate that word. I hate it. And I say that judgmentally, just knowing it. It's just it's semantics. It's, you know, I actually love like words and language. I'm a geek about it. So when I say I hate it, I accept it for what it is. But we've kind of bastardized the word. It's honestly, if I'm going to be honest, it's just. And the problem is with social media too, is that everything's viral. So everyone's also educating themselves through social media instead of actually educating themselves through life. Like, they hear something and then literally, like the telephone game, they just repeat it, and then because of 3 or 4 books, 2 to 4 white papers on quantum science and quantum entanglement, now everyone thinks that, you know, like attracts like and the law of attraction, and literally if I want more positivity, then I need to be positive, or I want something in the future, I need to your point, I need to visualize what it is. I need to embody that visualization now and vibrate at that frequency to then manifest it.
Yeah.
Here's where these teachings are tainted. One of my favorite subjects. I could go on forever.
Woo, let's do
And
it.
I'd love to hear the comments later if anyone wants to comment on our social media and just tag us, and we'll be happy to continue the conversation. There is nothing to manifest because you're already in co-creation. You're already manifested. You're already manifesting. Manifestations just, I'm not even a creator. I am co-creating within living intelligence that already is. Am I conscious of it or not?
Yeah.
That's the key. Am I conscious of what is mirroring in my reality, what I'm creating? And can I tie, and here's what we try to do in our work, can we tie conscious awareness, conditioning from childhood, from the collective? When I say conditioning, I mean the patterns of your behaviors that are created from environmental and biological circumstances. Like, I am who I am because of who my father was, who my mother was, who they were not, etc. How they treated me, how they did not, how I picked up my environment, how I did not. I am conditioned.
Your cells.
Exactly. When we can understand that, then we are always creating. To
Yeah.
even speak of manifestation, I'm going to get really meta here, but I know your followers can get it. It's already tainted in separation. The word to manifest, as if I am already not creating, is a distortion. It's actually a distorted teaching, right? It's an illusionary teaching that is trying to make you think that, okay, in order to get what you want, you need to do this, without first understanding, do you know where you are and how it was created?
Mm.
Can you see the patterns clearly of your past, the conditioning, what you're able to do, your skills, what you're not able to do, the conditioning of it all, to see clearly the mirror of, yes, the fractal of consciousness and how you manifested that trauma bond or not?
Totally. And I'll just pause you there for a second. So, like, in this situation where I was feeling abandoned by
Mm.
the person I had just met in the physical, what I got to do was ask myself, how did I create it? If
Yeah.
the situation was reversed, like, how did I manifest this? And that's what really was the big unlock for me, because
Mm.
I manifested this situation so that I could grow.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to see really what came through. The biggest thing was where I was acting for love, where I was
Ah,
being in,
performance.
where I was
Yeah.
performing
Yes.
was what was like the biggest aha, which had I not
Huge.
created the situation, I wouldn't have been able to have that aha to learn, like, I don't want to be in any relationship where I'm performing.
Oh, so good.
Okay, I just had to pause and like give the
Perfect.
real time example there.
No, so good. So this is huge. If
Yeah.
anyone can follow along, all we need to do, and all Katie's doing here as a case study, is embodying what is already manifest, witnessing the trigger, trauma reaction, the illusion in your mind that is real, unreal, again, etc. It's all, we have to validate it, but at the same time, it's an illusion. It's like a little bit of both.
Totally.
We can't dissociate from it and be like, oh no, it doesn't exist. No, it does exist. It's there.
Yeah.
When we allow, quote unquote, what is already existing, you don't need to vision board your future. You need to be very present and conscious of what is. Because Katie can, even through the trauma trigger, I know it took 3 weeks, but even through it, and even through my violence 3 days ago, like, even through it, when you can witness it as it's arising in real time, it might take 1 minute, 1 hour, 10 hours, however long, quick, sooner rather than later, the more you practice this. That is all we need to do, because then the alchemy will then arise and teach you exactly why it was manifest, because there was a fractal in your consciousness that was not resolved from abandonment. So now the mirror of that consciousness expression in the hologram is now reflecting to you, so you have an opportunity to see the abandonment wound. Boom, alchemy. You surrender to it. Do not force to try and go bypass it. Do not be like, well, I see the abandonment wound. Now I need to manifest a stable man and vibrate at a stable energy for the stable man. No, you do not. You now need to resonate and allow the intelligence of the abandonment to fully work its cycle.
Yeah.
The challenge, to tie it to tainted manifestation teachings, people think, well, that's a negative energy, the abandonment. If you continue to see it or be it, then you will mirror more abandonment energy. That is technically not true. And I'll tell you why.
I agree.
Those teachings are tainted because they're perceived from a few quantum studies and split experiments and atomic experiments where like attracts like. It mirrors in the fractal field. Technically, quantumly, that is true, but they don't explain everything before and on the way to that observation. They're only witnessing a result. What actually needs to happen is consciousness, and Amanda Lee talks about this all the time. Like, I'm giving her credit. This is her language. It's not even mine. This is to credit her. Consciousness has to see itself clearly, fully. like every pixel, you have to look at it like a screen in 2 dimensions just to diagram purposes. I know we're not in two, but this is important. Consciousness, which is you, has to see clearly, meaning sense, feel, and embody every ounce and pixel of that abandonment in order for consciousness to now allow life's intelligence to cleanse and transform and transmute every pixel of it. If
Totally.
you unconsciously bypass it and only see 42% of it because you're trying to now vision board a future of the man you want in a stable, loving, harmonious union, you're literally bypassing the intelligence of the trauma trigger in order to allow the intelligence to alchemize. That is where vision boarding a future can actually create more dissonance in your field. It creates more separation to what you really want. And here's a very important point. I call it Frankenstein manifestation. The truth is,
I love
you
that.
do not know if you're going to vision board your future. It's a projection. Because if you, like me, have never had healthy union until now, how the hell could I know how that feels like? I'm projecting things from a fucking movie. I'm projecting things of what I read on your social media. I'm projecting ideas of what I read in a book and maybe a family member that I think has it. And it's all a fractalized vision board it's an image. It's not actually something that can be felt because you've never experienced it. So
Yeah.
even if you try and envision that and try and match the frequency, can you do that? Yes. But now the quantum field will slap you in the face and be like, well, you haven't dealt with this trauma. Let's throw it in your face again because you haven't resolved it. Oh,
So,
you think you resolved trauma bonds and now you want to vibrate that frequency? Sure, you can try. Here's another trauma bond. Do you see your patterns now? Boom.
boom.
You almost introduce more tension into your life because you're fractalizing, like you're trying to envision a projection and a false idea of something instead of actually allowing God, life force, source to alchemize the moment. Long answer, but there you go.
And we actually, in that process, think we're smarter than
Then
God.
God.
And we actually hold ourselves back from our too good to be true life.
Yes. So true. So true. As the Gen Z kids do, like snap, snap, snap to that. Well said.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Philip, where are all the places that the mystical living audience can find you, connect with you, learn from you, hang out with you?
Hang out with me, hang out with each other, co-create together. So at Philip Attar is probably the best place. Instagram, it's PHILIPATTAR, just one L in Philip. My programs are there. With my wife Amanda Lee, we have our Academy of Living Intelligence, where we teach practitioners, therapists, and scientists just our practices of how to embody this truth through our living immersion method to surrender our body and molecules into divine union. And then, yeah, through there, you can either join, our programs, download a digital album of the method to try out for yourself, and then we can develop more intimacy and obviously go from there to really help people, embody their purpose. That's what I know you're here for as well. Like we're here,
Yeah.
and I'm here to help people truly embody their purpose and truth outside the ripple of any collective conditioning. So Instagram at Philip Attar, or again, my website, philipattar.com.
Beautiful. And to close us out today, I often ask guests. So I have this motto around following your light because what lights you up lights up the world. And
Mm-hmm.
really, you could repurpose that to saying following your truth
Mm-hmm.
because your truth lights up the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, what is your deepest truth? What's lighting you up as we close out today's episode?
Well, I guess based on everything I said today, what's lighting me up is marriage.
Woo!
Like
Yeah.
union, devote. I used to be that single playboy creative director, New York City, West Village apartment, fancy double-breasted suits, all the things in New York, just
Mhm.
frankly playing around and recognizing what a beautiful, loving teaching that was for me. And frankly, but also a distortion. What
Yeah.
lights me up is Amanda Lee now, just our union and us being able to work through what I said, what I expressed today, and we work through it together
Mm.
always creates a greater bond, more union, and more truth for us to truly embody. It's the mirror that we need to really resolve this. We can't do it on our own. We do it with God, life force, life's intelligence in union. We do it here on this podcast in union with peers, with friends, with colleagues, with clients, with you, with love. We do it in marriage. We do it in partnership. We're always in union. When we realize that, that's what lights me up the most. Finally, after 47 years, really realizing what union is.
It's so beautiful, Philip. You are a treasure, and I am so delighted to know you and to experience you in this lifetime. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a guest on today's show and kicking us off with season 2 in
Woohoo!
a very strong and very authentic way.
Congratulations. I'm honored to be here. It was a gorgeous, perfectly aligned conversation because we surrendered into it more than we even thought. Look at that.
More than we ever even thought. And that's
Totally.
the best part
Yeah.
about having the gift of this podcast. Thank you
Awesome.
so much, Philip.
You're welcome.